Hello. Hello, sir.
Hi.
I'd like to ask two questions. And the first one is, as you have mentioned in your speech, about the diversity of India. And you coming from the extreme southwest to the extreme northeast.
Right.
What do you think about the people of Mizoram? That's my first question. And for the second question, as we all know that there's an election going on this month on 5 states. And especially on those 2 states, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, the INC is running the government. So will the result of this 5 states election will impact the national politics in reference to the NDA and your side, India?
Right.
That is my question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, on your first question, let me say that despite my being from the extreme southwest and your being from the extreme northeast, we actually have a lot more in common, for good and for bad, than you might realize. For example, Kerala has the highest literacy rate in India and Mizoram is the second highest. So we are both very, very close to each other in terms of the fact that people can read and do read in both our states. Another less happy example is that Kerala and Mizoram have high rates of youth unemployment. I think there, if you don't count Kashmir because of the militancy, Kerala is number 1 and Mizoram is number 2 again. But there I wouldn't have minded if the roles were reversed. So there are things in common, but what I will say is in my very short experience, only my second day here, in these 2 days, the impression I've had of the Mizo people I've encountered is fantastic. I really have loved the warmth and friendship you've all shown me. And I must say I was surprised and gratified by how many of you seem to read me. I must have signed over 50 books in these 24, 30 hours that I've been here. My books that people brought up to me for signature. And that's not even counting all the pirated editions that the poor folks have bought, which I can't sign because I can't encourage piracy. So I will say I'm just very, very, very gratified because it shows that, we in India think we have this big world and a place like Mizoram is quote-unquote isolated. Far from it. We are more isolated in our unawareness of how broad and all-encompassing your vision is in a place like this. That so many people have come up with my books, that they seem to know who I am, that they care about what I believe. For me, that's been a tremendous thrill. So I've loved Mizoram. I would love to be back. And when there's no election around. On your second question, I'm always hesitating to say things like semi-finals and so on, as some of the media like to call it, because the Indian voter does tend to vote differently between state assembly elections and national elections. We've seen this time and time again. If I were to remind the young people here, 5 years ago, in 2018, we won all the 5 state elections. Well, we didn't win in Mizoram, but we came a respectable second, and we won the 3 Hindi heartland states, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, we won outright. And in Telangana and in Mizoram, we came second. But still, the BJP lost all 5. Right. And yet, it's true that within 6 months, the BJP had come storming back to power in the center. And in those states in the Hindi belt where we had really knocked them out, they actually won a majority of the seats. In Rajasthan, they won every seat. In Madhya Pradesh, they won all but 1 seat. So it really was quite astonishing for many people. And the wisdom that the political analysts gave is people vote differently for the Lok Sabha and they vote differently for the state assembly. I would say there was one additional factor that helped the BJP. The Pakistanis attacked a military convoy of ours in Pulwama and Kashmir and killed 40 of our soldiers. And that enabled the government to convert the election from what might have been a referendum on their economic failures. You remember demonetization, the botched rollout of GST, rising unemployment, inflation. All of those things could have been the main themes of the election. Instead, it became a national security election, particularly in northern India and in the Hindi heartland, where the government basically said, we are the ones who will keep you safe, we have the big 56-inch chest, etc., etc. And in the northern voters' mind, that worked. So that could have also made a difference. Anyway, the fact is, they won nonetheless. So I'm very reluctant to talk about semi-finals, because whoever wins the semi-finals wins the final, not necessarily. But I will say that it will influence the atmosphere in which the Lok Sabha elections are going to be conducted. And if you look at these 5 states, I'm going to be very objective. My party won't like it because the usual line of a party person is we'll win everything. Let me say we are ahead in Madhya Pradesh, we are ahead in Chhattisgarh, we believe we are ahead in Mizoram, and we are neck and neck and maybe slightly ahead in Telangana. In Rajasthan, we are very close, but it is by no means a done deal because there are some polls showing the BJP ahead and some polls showing us ahead. But in other words, there is a chance that in these 5 states, BJP will lose 4, and there is a possibility BJP will lose all 5. Now, if you look at that, it seems to me difficult to avoid the belief that there will be a new current, a new wave, a new tailwind behind us. And if we are entering the Lok Sabha election with people recognizing that there is an alternative and that alternative has prevailed against the BJP in 5 states, then there is a reasonable chance that we can give them a real surprise in the Lok Sabha election. The issues may be different, though some of the national issues are the same. Definitely inclusivity and diversity. Definitely unemployment and rising unemployment, youth especially. Definitely inflation. Definitely those will be amongst the big national ticket issues wherever you're contesting. Then there will be specific local issues in every place, no doubt about it. But I would say that, given that, if we can prevail in Mizoram with this message, we can probably make a terrific impact and maybe even prevail in the Lok Sabha election. Final thought, the BJP must be aware that they did too well in 2019. When I say too well, they did so well that it's impossible to replicate. As I said, they won every seat in Haryana, every seat in Rajasthan, every seat in Gujarat, all but 1 seat in Madhya Pradesh. They won, the NDA won all but 5 seats in Bihar. They won they won 18 seats in Bengal. In other words, there are at least 8 or 9 states where their figures cannot be replicated in this coming election. It is not mathematically or politically likely. So in all these states, they will lose some seats. We won't even say how many. They will lose some seats. The question is, are there any states where they can increase their seats? And I have to say that I don't see any evidence of any major states in this country where they can increase their seats and improve their performance in 2019. So I think it's going to be a very interesting election. I hope that all of you who have any doubts will put your vote and your feet where the polling booths are, and that you will come and stand up for your vision of India and for the kind of India we're trying to build in this country, or rebuild in this country. It was always there. It's been, unfortunately, stifled in the last 10 years, but I think we can bring it back and once again make this country an India for every Indian. That's our dream. Thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you, sir.